They are the men and women, mostly men, who believe they control the real power in this country. For when all is said and done, they have the one thing it takes to exact real discernible change. Not desire, not leadership, not even answers for the morass America finds itself in at the moment. Something much simpler: cash. Dinero, greenbacks, filthy lucre, money. And despite that fact, one of their own is leading the Republican race and would seem to be the favorite to face off against the Democrats this fall. They are pooling their shekels, determined to be the ones who, in their mind, save America from itself. Let's learn about them. Our guest has managed billions of dollars around the world, currently the co-founder and president of WealthX, a global ultra-high net worth prospecting and intelligence firm. Welcome David Friedman to the Hardline. David, thanks for joining us. And I guess the first thing that comes to mind when you look at what's happening right now with the Trump Our Principles PAC and so many others that are out there right now, you would think that billionaires, Donald Trump is one of them, that they would all get along, that they would want somebody like that sitting in power. How come?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, think about it this way. So Donald Trump has basically made the rhetoric he's using is around the fact that when it came to, for example, bankruptcy, he said, listen, this is a tool that wealthy people use when they have companies. Everybody does it. It's just something I use to help alleviate my situation. It's part of the system. It's part of the rules. With great irony now, he's faced with the same thing when it comes to the delegates and the popular vote, right? So the delegates and the way that they operate are rules. It's how it is. And so it's the same. It's interesting in some ways because it's a bit hypocritical to say in one situation, hey, I can use the rules, and another, these rules should be changed. So because the reality is those are the rules today, right?
Well, that's just the thing that catches me right away, because Donald Trump is always talking about flaunting the rules, and a lot of these people with billions of dollars, they talk about circumventing the rules, getting by them, because look, let's be very honest here, that's what in many cases makes them wealthy. So it does seem as if that they're striking out against him in so many ways. Why would they do that then? Are they fearful of Trump for some reason, or just trying to make a point? Maybe he's not a member of their good old boys club. He didn't give him a membership at Trump Golf Club. What is it?
You know, it's interesting because if you think about in striking contrast to the last election where you had Romney, who wasn't even a billionaire but was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And he had done that through private equity. And in some of those situations, companies got moved, jobs got eliminated, and so forth. There is nothing different in factual format from what Donald Trump has done. But in some way, he has transcended this category in the popular mass, and he's done a great job at it. And, you know, he's really struck a chord with these angry, kind of uneducated white voter base, right? And he's riding that, and that tends to, there's a lot of those type of voters. Now, but what I think is interesting, though, is you know, they're using this wealth in strategic and targeted ways. It's not blanketed. It's really focused at a very specific objective, which is mind share and persuasion around delegates, and they're winning. So I think he can look at that and say, look, this is an effective strategy. They're using it. These are the rules. I don't think he can say this is wrong. I think he has to say, I think we need to change the rules, but these are the rules as they are today. And maybe he can make a moral claim that it's not right, but it is what it is today.
Do you get a sense, of course, that many people, average middle-class people, they don't like the money, the super PACs that are in here. A lot of people rail against it and say, as I pointed out at the beginning, you guys, your money, it runs the day here, and that's not fair to us. Do you get the sense that from some of these people, Donald Trump has said some things that can be viewed as outrageous? Of course, it has insulted a lot of people, and that maybe they want to get him out because they don't want him in power, because then there's going to be an even greater groundswell against people with money, and they fear that more than anything else.
You know, it's really hard to understand unless you're on the inside. You know, there's been conversations and news articles recently that said, hey, there's two Donalds. There's this notion that's come out, right? And so people who have been vehemently opposed to him meet with him, and all of a sudden they walk out and say, hey, he's okay. And so what it would lead one to believe is that a lot of this rhetoric he's using to ride this wave, but maybe the person after is going to be someone different, more reasonable as such. But I think that's a big gamble, and I think that a lot of people are not. They're not. It's not worth it to them to take that kind of gamble. I mean, look, but from a policy perspective, if you try to dig through, if you try to pierce through the veneer of what's really happening, or what the policy stance is, or what the implications are, it's like a fog. I mean, every time I listen, it's amazingly persuasive, but as I try to chart my way through that fog and find where the bottom is, I can't get to it, right? But it's been incredibly persuasive. It's pulled a lot of people around, and obviously the numbers from a massive poll show it. The other thing is, people forget that we are not a democracy. The U.S. is not a democracy. We're a republic, right? And the founding fathers didn't believe in pure form of democracy that came out of the Greek polis. And they created a republic, frankly, to help protect and weigh the balance of the masses.
And what you just did right there, David, is you opened up a whole new can of worms that I don't even have nearly enough time to go into, but we are going to have to look at that because you are so right. David Friedman, thanks so much for joining us. It's fascinating. It's always about what the wealthy do with their money and how it all filters down to the little guy one way or another. We'll have to continue to follow this as we head towards November. Again, David, thanks so much for joining us. Stay with us. The Hard Line continues.